Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Andy Weir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for having me. But the reason I went into software engineering instead of writing is because around the time I turned 18, I realized I was going to need to choose a career. And I wanted to be a writer, but I'd built up some skills as a computer programmer. So I had to kind of pick one of those. And I decided that, like, however much I wanted to be a writer, I really liked having regular meals and not living in a box. So I decided software engineering would be a better way to go. I made my own website where I could dump my creative work. And it was just a good place for an outlet. So I wasn't going to write professionally, but I decided, oh, okay, I'll write as a hobby. It'll be fun. I made some webcomics, I made short stories, and I wrote some serials. And over time, over 10 years, I accumulated a regular reader base of about 3,000 people. I'm basing that on the size of my mailing list. Now, that sounds really kind of decent, right? It sounds pretty impressive, but that took 10 years. So it's actually not that impressive to accumulate 3,000 customers for a free service over 10 years. It's really not that great. Anyway, so I started writing my own short stories and dumping them to this website, and I'd accumulated readers. And in 2009, I decided, hey, I can start writing serials. It doesn't have to be just short stories or things like that. I'm going to write some serials. Okay. So I got to work writing 3 different serials. One of them was The Martian. I eventually finished The Martian, and I said, like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go work on my other serials, whatever. And, you know, this was my hobby. I was doing it nights and weekends. It took me about 3 years to write. I started in 2009. I finished in 2012. And when I finished, I decided to go work on other things, but I started to get email from my readers. And they would say, like, hey, Andy, I love The Martian, but I hate your website. Can you just post it to Amazon so I can get it through their system? Because I know how to do that. So I was like, all right, let's figure out how to do that. So it turns out it's pretty easy. And I'm like, okay. I noticed it was selling, I think, pretty well, but I didn't know anything about book sales or ebook sales or the ebook market or anything. All I knew was that, like, it would give me daily sales reports on my website, or on their website in my login area. And I would say, like, okay, it's selling between 300 and 500 copies a day. Is that good? I don't know. I have no idea. I have nothing to compare it to. And it started to work its way up into the top sellers lists. It sold well enough that it got the attention of Random House. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then while the book contract was being negotiated, 20th Century Fox came for the film rights. Okay. So those 2 contracts now were being worked out at the same time. I had a literary agent working with Random House on the book deal, and then there was a film agent that my literary agent had put me in contact with, and he was negotiating with Fox for the movie rights deal. And all these negotiations are going on at the same time, lots of meetings. By the way, at this time, I'm still a computer programmer. So I'm sitting there in my cubicle fixing bugs, then running off to take a call about my movie deal, then back I go to my cubicle to fix bugs. It's a very surreal time. And in the end, those 2 deals, those 2 unrelated deals, were agreed to 4 days apart. The rest you pretty much know. The movie came out. It was a huge success. They did a fantastic job with the adaptation. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a strategy because that would imply some sort of forethought or planning on my part.
So now that you've seen that work, and I know you're working on another book and other projects, would you do that again, or would you say, hey, I don't need to do that anymore?
The latter. I don't need to do that anymore because now I've broken into the industry, and now I can just go straight to. I mean, I've already got a deal with Random House, and they will put their marketing effort behind selling the next book. We'll probably sell the movie option, and we'll see where things go from there. But to anybody trying to break in to the industry, I would definitely recommend it because it's free. I can't stress enough how awesome it is that this process requires 0 personal financial risk. The only thing you're risking is the time it took you to write the book, which, if you're a wannabe writer, is presumably time well spent. It's time that you didn't mind doing that. So you really don't stand to lose anything. I owe it all to the internet. If it wasn't for digital books and just the internet in general, there's no way I would have been able to break into the industry.